All right, all right, all right. What's going on, everyone? How are you? We are here on a new episode of the Juan Solo Show with your host, me, Juan D. Klauser. If you noticed, if you can tell, we are we look like we're in a we look like we're in about to do one of those ISIS videos. Uh, then like out of each corner right here of this backdrop, there's just gonna be a bunch of Al Qaeda people. Is that even the same thing? I think those are two different groups of people, but they're just gonna come out of each side with guns, and then I'm just gonna you're gonna slowly see like this script come up from the bottom of the screen, and I'm gonna be like, "We are here because I am locked away." Anyway, but yeah, we were here on a new I don't know. It's a little echoey. It's a new studio room filming in. Yeah, and there's always it's not if you're gonna break something when you move into a new studio when you have like film equipment and stuff. It's not if it's not if, it's just when. When is it gonna happen? How's it gonna happen? How much is it gonna cost you? One of those things. So one of those things happened. I already broke a couple of the blades off of a fan, which is great. Low ceilings, or low ceiling, not ceilings, because that'd be plural. It was silly, dumb. This is what happens when you are a bull and you just do bull-like things and you move around instead of going slow, knowing that you have not that much room for air when it comes to hitting stuff against the like a fan, like a ceiling fan. So God, when you do stuff like that, at least for me, I'm like, you are the dumbest person in the world, John. You are so dumb, so dumb. Why do you have to be so why can't you just do things in an orderly fashion? Why do you have to because when I'm doing the thing that I'm doing, I'm thinking okay, well, I'm doing this right now, and what's the next thing? What am I going to be doing on? What am I going to be working on? As soon as I get done with this, well, what is it going to be? What's it going to be? And then boom, you break two blades off of a fan, and then you just stand there like you're a moron. You're just like, God dang it, son of a gun. Can't tell. It's almost some interesting thing. I had an epiphany thing. You can say. I say this, and then I just watch. In a matter of moments, I will say fuck, shit, god damn it. Here, watch. Trying to figure out a word to replace a word like fuck or shit or god dang it. That's way better. If anything, that's actually way more creative in the sense of your linguistical abilities to think of words, or it just actually comes off way more intelligent versus you just saying fuck and shit. Now, I say that to just to know that in a matter of minutes, a matter of time, I'm going to go off on something, and I'm going to say fuck, shit, and god damn it a lot. So, like you guys said, we're here. It's a brand new setup. This is not how it's going to be, guys. It's not going to be like this. If I was actually a smart person, I would take this concept, though, how I have everything set up. I have a laptop right in front of me. I have all my recording equipment. It's right in front of me. It's on the desk that I normally use to film or to record all of my audio stuff. It's great. I love this desk. I love this desk, and it was so great about it is I got it off of a lady who fucked me over. So did I guys ever tell you that story? I moved into the, remember the third floor of that mansion? Well, I was living in the guest house behind that mansion, and crazy thing, I found this guest house on one of those renter websites, and it seemed legit. Just pictures, the lady thing, the thing where I should have been like, John, I think this might be a scam or something might occur here that is not right, is when it said the telephone number, because every other one had the telephone number, 816 blah 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 555 555 555, whatever it is. Well, this one was 8, then it was 1 O N E, and then it was 5 F F I V E. It was all spelt out, and then then it would be couple letters or a couple numbers, and then it would be spelt out again of the whole thing. When it's just like, all right, well, I should have known then. Everything was great. I checked out the place. I think I've told this story, and it was fine. I mean, it smelled a little like cigarettes, but I was fine with that. The lady was like, yeah, like, if you don't like cigarettes, I'll smoke outside. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm like, no big deal. Like, I smoke pot every once in a while. So like, I can't really complain about things smelling, but at least like smoke sets versus weed just kind of leaves and it dissipates. And everything was great. I paid first month and last month's rent or deposit, whatever you want, however people describe. I don't know. It's so funny. Like some people are like first and last month's rent. Some people are like a deposit and then like last month or the last month's rent. Anyway. And I guess a deposit would be different because a deposit is like a certain amount of money because those cover like any accidental things that occur versus like a first and last month. But isn't kind of like a first or the last month of one of those payments would be the equivalent of of a deposit. It is what it is. And it was fine. The first couple nights great. And then like night 4, something like that. And she passed out on a couch and she had her arm out. Like she had just like shot some shit up in her arm. And I'm like, this is great, John. This is where you're at. So I went from there. So anyway, the table. That's what I was like, where am I even going with this? Anyway, so long story short, like, I had to get my tax return back, and I put the address she gave me to go to the place was actually the address to the house, the mansion, versus the guest house. So in Kansas City, I don't know if it's Missouri or it's Kansas City in specifically, that you have to have, like, if you add on, so if you have a house and you add like a smaller thing in the back, and if you add anything like that, it has to have its own address. So for example, the number that I gave, like the address she gave me was like 1111, right? And then the address behind it is like 1112. So I gave the address to 11111 for my tax return. And just like, it was so weird because like even in just talking to the lady, she's like, oh, you're John David? Well, like the landlord, his husband is a John David too. And so like it just kind of like, it just kind of rung in my head, and like no big deal. Like I took it and I just like let it go. And then when I realized that I gave the wrong address for the tax return, I was like, well, I don't want them to get the tax return and it be John David Klauser versus John David, I think it was Hernandez, or it was something. It was some Gonzalez. It was one of the last. It was like a Latin last name, and so I didn't want there to be confusion and then be like, oh well, like, and then them send back my tax return because they thought there was a misprint or something like that, or they're like, well, I already got my tax return. Why am I getting another one? But it's John David someone else instead of John David Hernandez. So I told the lady, I was like, hey, hey, can you just give me like the landlord's phone number so I can like, 1, introduce myself, and then 2, I can tell him the little mishap, the kerfluffle that's occurred, and so now I have to, so we can iron that out. And she's like, well, I can do it. I'm like, no, it's fine. It's that's my money. So the thing is, like, it's my money. It's my responsibility. I thought I should take care of it. And she's like, do you not trust me? I'm like, well, I don't now. And so anyway, I ended up getting the landlord's number. I called him, found out that like she has no idea that I'm even living there. She's just been pocketing the money that I've given her for 2 months, technically 3 months worth of rent. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And then she like, since I found out about it, and like that, come to find out she had like several months back payment for the landlord, and so I ended up just started paying the landlord my rent, and then she ended up getting like kicked out and evicted. Anyway, long story. And in the whole process of that, she kept coming. She's like, I just want to apologize. I'm like, you can go fuck yourself. That's what I told her. I'm like, dude, you stole from me. I'm like, I don't give a fuck about you. I don't care about. Oh, do you guys like that? Like, I don't care at all. Oh, one of the lights fell down. Can you see? Like, look how the difference is with that light there versus not there on me. Got it. So I was like, yeah, I don't give a shit about you. I don't care about anything, about any of your excuses, any of that shit. You can go fuck yourself. And then she's like, well, I used to be an artist. I'm like, again, I don't care. She's like, well, I have this old drawing table. And that's what it is, like one of those white drawing tables that you can like put at an angle or lay down. I don't know. I think it's great. It works perfectly for a desk for filming and all that stuff. But like, I also needed another desk and this is all coming full circle. And I had to get another desk, which is like it's an L-shaped desk to go in a corner because I thought that would work good for like a TV as well as like a writing area. Like the bigger part would be the writing area, and the smaller part on the side would be for a TV, and I can play my Xbox and be a child in that area. But yeah, so that's why I have this whole thing set up, because I'm shooting this on Monday at 2:30 in the afternoon, and I don't get on January 2nd, and I don't get the new table till January 5th, I believe. So this is where we're at. And then once that gets in, then basically all of the furniture that's going to be in here is stationary, and then I can put the lights up that I want. Then I can then finally put away all this fucking equipment, because I right over to my where my thumb is pointing, there's just a big pile of stuff. There's a drone. There's a bunch of cords, a bunch of Christmas lights that are going to go up around the border. Well, yeah, and light bulbs. There is literally a what do they call them? Like a milk crate full of just miscellaneous light bulbs. Just 500,000 Kelvin light bulbs. That's the light temperature. But yeah. So I've gotten almost halfway through this podcast, and I've yet to do it. So because I'm doing it this way, what's so great is I can actually connect a laptop or a computer to the inbox, which then I can access a soundboard, as well as what I wanted to do when I first started doing this. So the only reason why I ever did the little plug at the beginning, and then I did the video of the week, and I never acknowledged the video of the week. It'd be just a random video. I would show it, and then I would never talk about it, not once on the podcast. And I thought that was kind of funny, because the only reason why I even brought it on board was because I thought it was too much of a jux from going from the plug to the actual video. And in turn, I could have but in retrospect, if I had another person, I would just film this. I would never have done that, because they would have framed everything for me and got it done. But the reason why I did the plug at the beginning was it was basically a setup shot to see how the framing is. So if I fuck up there, it's better to fuck up there than versus mess up. See, I cuss. See, and it's better to mess up there in the plug, which is only 15, 20 seconds, versus messing up and having a whole 29 minutes or 30 minutes that's awkwardly shot, and you're like, what the hell is this? Wow, that's a massive shadow in the back. You see that shadow? It's because of that light now. Let me put this one on. Nothing. But wow, that's such a harsh shadow. And I was like, damn, dude, this is really hard on the left side of my face now, because it wasn't like that, but because of how I had to angle it, it was like this, and I had to angle it like this so it could sit on itself without falling. And so now I'm like, dude, I'm feeling it hard on my left side. But yeah, so that's the only reason why I ever did that, the plug thing at the beginning. And I always wanted to have a video thing, because I had the ability. One of the reasons why I got this specific inbox was because this inbox has 8 channels. And then I was like, oh, I can have one channel audio, another channel for someone else, and another channel for someone else if I have 2 other people. But then I'm also going to have enough channels so I can import and export audio. So I could have because I wanted to have an aux cord, just in case if someone had we're talking about something and they wanted to plug their phone into it, or their laptop or anything else. Then I wanted one so I could have my own laptop plugged into it, so I could have access to a soundboard. And then with that, I wanted to be able to connect with a TV, and then have the audio from the TV get run through the inbox. So it's all recording, and it all gets thrown into the editing software or the audio software, because that's how it works. Is like none of those things can read the computer, and the computer can't read any of those stuff. So you have to have like a central port, which is the inbox, and that runs everything, because this microphone has no battery or anything like that. So there's literally no power there's no power that goes to this device other than the inbox. And the inbox really technically has no power either. It just connects to the wall, and then it connects to the computer, and then that's it, and that's where it gets its juices from the computer. I know you guys care about this a lot. I know you guys like, why are you talking about this, John? But anyway, so all that was leading into what I was trying to talk about. Is like the video of the week this week. And it was so funny because I this is why I always wanted this. I always wanted, when I was doing podcasting, and because when I first started doing it, that's what I started. I started with having all this equipment. It was so crazy because I had no idea what it was, what podcasting was, why. I'm like, I was just, okay, this is cool. You're going to pay me X amount of dollars, and I'm going to sit in a studio, a sound studio or something, and I'm going to just record. I'm recording something, a podcast. I'm just recording a podcast. I would tell people that. I'm like, I don't know what this job is. Like, they didn't really tell me much. I remember I went to, this is how it was. I went to the interview. I walked in. They're like, hey, this is the setup. We shoot here. We shoot here. We shoot here. Here's the audio stuff that we use. Here's the microphones. This is the kind of microphones that we use. These are the kind of cameras that we use. And that was it. There was no sitting down and like, okay, well, we're shooting cameras and the microphone. There's people there. There's no sitting and explaining that to me. He just kind of was like, yeah, this. He's like, well, and I need you to start on, like, can you start Thursday? I'm like, sure. And he's like, yeah, just be here at like 8 a.m. And I was like, all right. And then it wasn't until the day of, I got there, and there was another person, another engineer, audio and video engineer. Like, that's what we got called. We're engineers. And he was like, okay, well, you do this, and then we're shooting. I'm like, what is that? What are we shooting? What are we doing? Are we doing film? Are we doing audio? He's like, we're doing kind of both. And it's like, he's like, we're just recording two people sitting down and having a conversation. And I'm like, we're just doing that. And so I'm literally just waiting. So I'm setting all this up. So it takes like 25 minutes to set up everything, to get everyone framed, get the right audio levels, test out because I used to have it's like the size of a iPhone, and it has a little ball on it, and it's a temperature gauge, and it reads how many kelvins there are in the area. So right now, like how if you look on my right side, there's not as much light versus on my left side. See how my left side's a little bit more, it's a little hot in the sense of like you can see that there's a light source coming, and you can see how powerful that light source is. See my hands moving up and down, and then on the other side of me, there's that shadow. So that's how you can tell where a light source is coming from. Duh. It's just like anything else. It's like anything like out in the world. If you're in a room and you stand like, oh, there's a shadow here, but if I stand on the other side, there's no shadow. Well, now you see where the light source is hitting, or where it's directed towards. And so I'd have this little device, and I'd like check the temperature, make sure they're not blown out. I made sure that everyone was like the same ISO or the same Kelvin, and then we would shoot. And then like when we would talk and stuff like that, I'd bring up clips. It was just a lot like the Joe Rogan podcast. How he has Jamie who pops up videos, audio, that kind of stuff. Like when they're talking, it's literally what I did. That's what I did. And I had a soundboard there too, because I came from the world of listening to morning radio, and morning radio all were these disc jockeys that had a soundboard. They're like, this is me and the burnt toast crew and bling, and then I came from that. That's what I listened to a lot of. And so for me, that's where I was like, well, if that's what we're kind of doing here, kind of like a radio-esque thing, then why don't I do that and that? And then you realize that like podcasting is almost its own form of art. So it's there, you can have those things and they help, but you don't have to always use them all the time. It's not the same. It's not the same. You can have the same impact with something without having something like that. And I think the reason why a lot of that stuff is enjoyable is because it's morning show. Like you're driving with podcasting, you're doing a lot more other things. You're doing working out, walking, you're doing other things, cleaning. So you don't, maybe, I don't know. A little of me feels like I'm digging myself in a hole of something that there's no need to even go there. But I guess this is where we should start. This is the I guess the video of the week, and then I'll have like the intro music. It's all that stuff. It's pretty fucking lazy.
3 things you should never ask a furry. Number 1, you should never ask if we are an animal, because furries are an anthropomorphic being that is a mix between a human and also a beast.
Number 2, do not ask if we turn into werewolves during the full moon. I'm a wolf all the time.
Werewolves all the time, because werewolves are just lunar related, which would be about once a month. And this... These are both wolves, and we're always wolves. And then number 3, people always ask us if we are in a relationship. And so far, we are still seeing where it goes, right? So we're just gonna see where this takes us, because you never know what friendship can become.
My mom said she's coming soon.
So...
Welcome to The John Show with your hosts, John Doogie Clouser.
All right. Okay. So yeah, there's a lot on this one. Great video. What's so great about this is because I think every man can relate to this, because I feel like this is probably, he might have liked this. Okay, so he might have liked the idea of werewolves, and he might have liked the idea of like aliens and that kind of thing. And then he met this girl and she was like, like, I really like dressing up like animals and pretending to be these animals. And he was like, oh, okay, well, I really like her, and I would like to, see her, so I'm going to like this stuff too. And then what you do is you see at the very end of this clip, you see a man who really, he lowered his standards on a lot of things. And then you realize, oh, this was all for nothing. And that's the thing, like, you can't be a guy like this and think you're going to get pussy. But the thing is, you can't even be a girl like this and think you're going to get pussy either. It's rough. But then I also like, it's from TikTok. So I almost feel like there's a little bit of like fakeness to it. But what's so great about watching these videos, what I tell people to do is like, yeah, watch it, think it's weird. Then rewatch it again, and just pay attention to all the stuff that's around, on the ceiling. Pay attention to what's on, like, in the background. There's a projector. There's a random ass projector. There's the poster of the bald guy in the spandex, like, leotard. Things like that. Those are the things you should be paying attention to. When you pay attention to that, you're like, okay, I see why. I see why this woman is probably like, I need to get the fuck out of here. And then the guy's like, I can't believe I wasted so much time on this. This is woof. This is horrific. But yeah, it's a hard time. But there's the thing. I'm not the fucking. It's like not even a deer. It's a I don't know, like I think that's like a elk. Not an elk. It's like it's one of those offsets of an elk. It's cousins to one of them. And it's actually, it's probably not. Like, I say that. It's so weird about like evolution is the fact that there's a thing like a bird. And then you think you see something else like an eagle. You're like, oh, those are probably similar things. Those are connected somehow. They're cousins. And you find out, no, that an earthworm is more connected to a bird than an eagle is to a bird. And you're like, how? How did this work? Like, how is this that it just, and you wonder if there is a God, if there is one, if they can't, if even that thing is like, okay, there's a bird and there's an eagle. I should have these two things be cousins. They're basically just one size bigger than the other, which is weird, but it's also, I feel like that's a human thing. It's a Homo sapien thing that we do to choreograph things. So we always, like when you listen to another language, how you try to find similarities to sounds with what you're listening to, because your brain is trying to figure out what is these sounds, which is insane too, because I've talked about this a lot. Is that one of the things? Language blows me away. Just sound. It's all it is just sounds that we've all in a group collectively agreed on, that this means this, that means that, and we just understand it, and that's how we communicate with it. Same thing with letters. Like, they're just symbols. They're just hacks on a paper. That's all it is. That's all it is. It's just little small choreographed hacks in a line. Because think about it, if you're from another planet and you saw this, you're like, what the hell is this? This is and then they're like, yeah, this is the way they communicate with each other. Like, when there's a group of people or there's someone that has something to say, they write it down and then they leave it there, and then someone else will find it and pick it up and read it. Saying that, well, fuck, Egyptian hieroglyphics. Like, we look at that stuff and we're like, what in the Frenchman's fuck is that? Same thing. Same thing. Oh man. But yeah, don't be like this. Like, don't animal stuff. I have never understood. Cool if you want to dress up like it. Hell, I don't want to be around a lot of animals in general. Like, why would I want to be dressed up like that animal? It's not really a thing I'm really interested in. But yeah, I love. If you're still listening to this, we're like, what? Almost 27 minutes into it. We're almost done. We're slowly sliding into the descent. This would be, if this was a plane ride, this would be the part where I'll be like, hey guys, put your tray tables up, put your seats in the upright position, because we're about to land, motherfuckers. Thank you for listening. This one's weird, and I'm like, I can just see myself in the monitor. I'm just like, you are in a dungeon, dude. What was this? But it's like, most people would have just made a best of, because that's what everyone has done. Every other podcast you listen to, this week was like, well, it's the last week of the year, I'll just do a best of all the episodes I did. I'm like, no, that's lazy. Well, because what's fun about that? What's fun is, like, I have this room. I have like zero space, just enough space where I can break 2 blades on a fan, and why not set up some lights, put a backdrop? Hell, even like there's lights behind that backdrop, which causes it to flare, which has like this nice little like ambience light on my shoulders and the top of my head, which is like almost like a halo effect. But I still look like I'm in a damn dungeon. So this is kind of where we're at. But so I have about 50 seconds left. I did it. Like, when other people make a best of, I break 2 blades off of a fan and make just a I almost said half-assed, but a dimly lit podcast. But yeah, if you've gotten this far, thank you so much. New year, probably going to be the same you. New year, get ready to go to the gym and have a crap ton of people be there that won't be there in 3 weeks, but it's going to be 3 weeks of hell. This is purgatory. This is what I believe purgatory is like. It's like having a gym membership, going there at the beginning of the year, and then you just see all these people like, oh my God, where did you guys come from? You guys don't like this. And then you'll see them slowly fade away. 1 or 2 will stay, but most will fade away into the night. And you guys will just be like 2 passing ships screaming curse words at each other. All right, well, I'll talk to you guys on the next episode. All right. Bye.